wait, before you scroll past this, I need to ask you a question. And do you actually know what NASA has been planning this whole time? Because yes, everybody watched the Artemis 2 launch. Everybody saw the spaceship go up. But do you actually know what is going on behind the scenes? Now let me break it down for you. And I promise you, by the time I finish, you'll never see NASA the same way again. Now let's start with Apollo. When NASA sent humans to the moon for the very first time in the 1960s, they called it the Apollo mission. Now here's where things get very interesting. Apollo in the Greek mythology was the god of the sun, not the moon. So the actual goddess of the moon was called Artemis. So the question is, why did they name a moon mission after the sun god? Now here's the part that will even shock you more. The man who gave the name, his name was, and permit me if I'm not able to pronounce the name correctly, A.B. Silverstein. And he chose it one evening at home, reading a mythology book. He said he saw a picture of Apollo riding his golden chariot across the sun and said, "This is the name." But here's the plot twist. Years later, when asked again why he chose Apollo, he said something completely different. He said, and I quote, "No specific reason for it. It was just an attractive name." So the man who named humanity's greatest space mission gave two completely different reasons at different times. So which one is actually the truth? But everything goes deeper than that, because Apollo was never really about space. In 1961, the Soviet Union did something that embarrassed America in front of the whole world. They sent the first human being to space. His name was, and permit me if I'm not able to pronounce the name correctly, Yuri Gagarin, and America was losing. So President Kennedy called his team and asked one question: find me a space program we can win. And this is when Apollo was born. Not from curiosity, not from the love of science, but actually from embarrassment. They needed a name powerful enough to tell the whole world America is coming. So they chose Apollo, the god of power and light. Now, the spacecraft they even flew in during Artemis 2 was called Orion. He was a giant hunter, the son of Poseidon, one of the greatest hunters who ever lived. But here's what they never told you. So after Orion died, it was Artemis herself who placed him in the stars. Artemis took her companion and put him in the sky forever. So think about it carefully. The ship carrying the Artemis crew is named after the giant that Artemis placed in the stars. And there is the date. NASA launched the Artemis 2 on April 1st, and that is April Fool's Day. And it went perfectly smooth. And here's what nobody is telling you about April 1st. In ancient Rome, April 1st was a festival of Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, and new beginning. And the word April itself comes from the Latin word, and permit if I'm not able to pronounce the name correctly, aperere, which means to open. So NASA launched their most historic mission in 50 years on a day of the month, which actually means to open. So NASA didn't just pick a date. They picked a statement. So let me ask you this question. Was NASA actually speaking a language that most of us were never taught to read? Or all of this is just one big coincidence or a bit of conspiracy theory? Anyways, drop your thoughts in the comments and I'll be reading every single one of them. Because this is Vama. What I do is to bring the all closer to you.